What is up, everybody? Welcome to Toffee Blues USA, your source for all things Everton, American style. Gerry, I am, as I tend to be, joining you
Yes.
recorded from, I went all Yoda. Joining you recorded from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And joining me again, it's been a little while, but he's back. We've got Forrest coming to you from Annapolis, Maryland. Forrest,
Oh yeah.
Thanks for being here again, man.
Happy to be here, Gerry. You know, it's been a long time, and I think I've gave you the cold shoulder. Not gave you the cold shoulder, but kind of had to turn down a couple just because of work and the way life is. But it's good to be back and talking with you.
Well, I have a tendency to be like, okay, so it's Wednesday and we're recording Wednesday. Can you record Wednesday like in a few hours? I tend to do that. Like, and I'm just like, why did I wait? And I was like, oh yeah, life. That's why. But and there was one time we had you slated to record, and it was a flight issue, and it was like, again, it was your life happening.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Word. So, Forrest, we've been talking. Full disclosure, everybody. Forrest and I actually spoke before we actually started the show. I just wanted to tell you that. He told me he's got something coming that he's doing next week, and I feel like we can all learn from this. Being, I realize there's a lot of English Evertonians that watch this show, but especially the American Toffies that are out there may have interest in this. So, Forrest, what's going on next week?
Yeah, so my girlfriend and I, we are going to the UK, leave the day after Thanksgiving, and we'll get to go to the Derby. Just got tickets earlier this week, and I can't wait. I'm tickled. It's been a couple of years since I've been back. This is like my third Derby I've gone to, maybe my 10th or 12th match. I try to go every year, so I'm really excited. I can't wait.
Holy crap. What was your favorite one that you got to watch?
Favorite match overall? So my first one ever, it was probably it was Newcastle away. And that's a long story how I even ended up going to that match. But yeah, it was Newcastle away. And it was that my first ever live Everton goal was that Baines free kick from like 40 yards where he just like smacks it with his left foot and
Holy
it just
crap.
curves outside. Yeah, the Premier League Twitter account just tweeted about it, and I responded to them. They're like, "Oh, what an experience that must have been!" But that was it was a great. We won 2-1, and like the Newcastle's away section's like up like 10 flights of stairs, so you climb up them, and you get a good workout, and you come back down, and you've had a couple, and everybody's singing, and it like echoes through the concourse and through the stairway. So you've got like hundreds of Evertonians coming down singing. It was a very cool experience.
Okay, that would be. Jeez. So you got to do Newcastle away, and you go every year to catch a match.
Yeah.
So this year you're going, and you set it up initially with your girlfriend as being, but then you realized, oh wow, I am gonna have people there I know.
Yes.
So let's just make sure everybody's aware who's gonna be there. There's one person in particular that the show knows.
Yep. So a couple of other Carolina Toffee guys, Roger Smith and Cam. And I'm totally blanking on his last name now. Forgive me, Cam. They're going to be there, and I found that out a couple weeks ago, and it's going to be a good experience seeing them. I don't think I've hung out with any other American Evertonians when I've been in a match before. I've always got my own mates over there that I've seen, so I'm looking forward to seeing them. I hope we sit close to each other. I'm kind of like in the corner of the lower Gladys, like right in the corner. It's where my mates and I guess what, like his singing section are sitting, so we're going to be there. But I hope I see him. I think Cam's already asked me about where we should go for a pint.
Yes,
and I've got some suggestions for him later. Yeah,
I fully understand that question now from the mailbag, Cam.
Yes. Yep.
He asked that, and there was a little winky smiley or something, and I was just like, wait, why? Are you wondering where I'm gonna be and where I'm gonna go? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going anywhere, man. I think I'm
trying to rub it in.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. And then you said you were going, and that makes more sense. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
So if I'm Gerry and I want to go to the Derby and I want to get that process started. But I clearly can't just decide the week before to do it, or I think it'd be very difficult, right? So how does that process work? If, what am I supposed to do if I want to go see the Derby? Let's say I decide I want to do it in like maybe, I don't know, August or July.
Yeah. So I've always, whenever I go over, I always try to fly to Dublin, because it's the cheapest place to fly to in Europe for an American, especially, if you live up in the Northeast, especially Boston, it's gonna be a very cheap flight for you round trip, one way, I'm sorry, round trip, no stops, nonstop. That's the word. I can speak, but
You know
you'll have,
words very good.
yes, words good. But so and then you can just get a cheap flight from Dublin to Manchester, a little Ryanair flight. The one time I did that, it cost me $25 for the flight. Your bags cost way more. If you have a bag you need to check in, it'll cost you like $50. Like they're not nice about it. And then, so I'm lucky I have friends over there that I'm able to stay with, so I typically don't have to pay for accommodation. The one time I did, guys, this time I can't go for a very long time. I'm only going for 10 days. Yeah, I say it's not a long time, but it's a decent amount. But I've gone for like a month and a half before. Like I've really gone for a while and soaked in Liverpool and traveled around the country a bit. And hostels are always your best trip. Like hotels can be really expensive in the UK. Like I'm talking, hard to find one under 100 a night. It can be pretty dang expensive. So
Yeah.
a hotel or like a homestay, even Airbnbs are kind of expensive too. And you're just going to get a room with like a freaking single bed in it. And it's going to be really springy. But it's, the experience is worth it. And as far as buying a ticket for a match like the Derby, it's tough. So Everton have like a resale platform where their season ticket holders can go and resell their ticket to somebody so that if they can't go, somebody else can.
Yeah. That's great that they do that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's a lot better than StubHub. It's a lot better than any other third-party ticketing app or company, because it's just going to cost you a lot less in the end because it's going to be face value. So I paid £45 each for the 2 tickets I bought, which it was about $120, which is great. That's a really, really good price for especially a match that big where it's going to be hard to get tickets. So that it seems like if you just monitor that a couple weeks before a match, if you're planning on going, like you'll find a ticket. You'll find somewhere in the ground you can sit. I found tickets next to each other. Like that, it's a very good platform that they've got. And then if you know somebody too, I mean, you can always find a ticket. Away games are a little bit harder.
Okay.
Because most Premier League clubs, I'm pretty sure all of them do, they have like an away credit scheme. So you have to go to a certain number of away games to be able to continue to buy tickets for them, because they have small allocations, maybe 1,500 to 3,500 people. So you have to really have an in with somebody, know somebody over there, or just ask around on Twitter, or if you're in a Facebook group, ask around there. And you'll find somebody who's willing to help you out, as long as you are courteous about it. And you have to be kind of discreet too, because the away followings are very, very, how do I put it? Like a set group of people. It's always the same people that go on the aways. Are very dedicated.
Gotcha.
They spend a lot of money to do it. So I don't go out there and be the typical American tourist. Don't do it. just go and soak it in and be a normal guy going to watch the footy, and you'll enjoy it a lot more that way, because an away game is fantastic, especially when you win. It's a really good experience. It really is. It's worth way more than a home match, in my opinion.
So I have a question about, 2 things. All right. Number one, clothing, right? I want to get that out of the way, because I have a feeling there's certain things that will immediately tip you off as being American dude who maybe has never been before, and that kind of thing. So I want to ask that, because it's almost like going to a club for the first time. You're like, what do you wear there? I don't know.
What's the vibe?
So I mean, really, I'm really curious,
I get it.
The other thing I was going to ask you about is like behavior. Like, is there a certain, like, if you're in a singing section, but you're I mean, let's be frank, you've never gone to a game, so do you really know songs? How does this? So give me a little bit of
For sure. Yeah.
I feel silly asking these questions,
No,
but at the
I
same
totally
time, I'm
get it.
like, this is my way to ask.
Yeah. Well, I think something that gets lost in translation when it comes to Premier League matches, that you are in another country. You're in
Mhm.
a different culture, as much English as they speak, and as much as they seem, just like us, because they're speaking the same language and eat the same food, etc. For the most part, it is a very
Mhm.
different place. I've got a couple of stories to tell, just really short. Like this one time I went to a match. We played Stoke at home, and I was trying to sit next to a friend. So instead of going to the seat where I had a ticket, I just sat in the seat next to him. And eventually, some guy started shouting at me because his daughter was like sharing the seat with me, basically. And I was very
Yeah.
sheepishly like got out, like, sorry, man, I just read my ticket, and went and sat in my seat, which was like 5 rows back. You just need to not really make a fool of yourself. People, they're used to the people they sit next to, especially if they're season ticket holders. They know the crowd around them.
Mm.
Don't if you don't sing, don't worry about it. It's a big stadium. The areas where they really sing are the Gladys. So the lower Gladys, upper Gladys is really the singing part of Goodison. It's where the energy really is. It's where people typically just stand up throughout the match, especially like a derby. They'll just stand up the whole time.
Yeah.
If you want a bit more of an atmosphere where you can sit back and just watch a match, the park end, the Bullens, the main stand, so any of the other stands really, especially the main stand of the Bullens, which are the two on the side rather than the end.
Hmm.
They're a little bit more family friendly. It's more people just go to sit and watch the match rather than really get involved in the passion and the spirit and the tribalism that is
Yeah.
English soccer. But the Gladys is where it's at. I've never sat in any other part of Goodison other than the Gladys, because it's where it's at. Like, I've had some very good experiences there. The first match I went to at Goodison was a derby. It was 3-3. Lukaku scored twice. It was pandemonium.
Is that
Pandemonium.
crazy game that we deserved
Yeah.
to win and they got
Yes.
fortunate to tie us?
Yeah, like, it was Martinez's first season, and we were playing great football. We were playing really well.
Yes.
Lukaku was really coming into his own. And we really played them off the pitch the second half, like we really did.
Mhm.
I think Delph had 4 or 5 chances where he was basically one-on-one, and he missed them all because the guy just could not. When he was on loan with us the first time, he could not score. He was a young guy, and he just didn't have the composure. But
Mhm.
we really, that was a game we should have won, and we took the lead in the second half off a corner like that. I remember sitting there because I had a great view. I saw there and watched the corner come in, and Lukaku just head it straight into the goal. And man, it was just chaos. You got people
Yeah.
jumping up, down. The weight of people sometimes, because they're celebrating, some will fall down. The people will literally fall down, like fall down rows. It's kind of a thing that happens. I think I like shed a tear because it was just so much like happy. It really was just like this
Yeah.
very joyous emotion of thousands of people around you. Just it's called limbs, like they call it limbs, where they're
Yeah.
just hugging each other. Like, it's a very special experience to be at a game like the derby, because when Everton do score, when they do play well, it's electrifying. Like, outside the ground, it's electric. It's just, you can feel it build in your chest. The tension and the anxiety and the hope and everything just builds up for you that whole match. And then you get in the ground, you get in your seat, and you're even more nervous because Jesus Christ, it's like, it's real at that point. We're in the ground. It's real. It's real.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is so if you've got, let's say you're watching with a kid,
Okay.
like do you certain considerations in terms of seating, in terms of like different areas of the stadium?
Sure. As far as a kid goes, man, you can bring a kid into the lower Gladys. Nobody's gonna kick off or anything.
Mhm.
There's plenty of kids in there. It's not
Mm.
like, again, it's not a dangerous place. Goodison is not a dangerous place. This is not the 80s where they had stadium disasters because they had safe standing, and they're just trying to pack people in.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad. And I don't like bringing it up, but that is a past of English
Yeah.
soccer where they've just had people who just tried to pack in the stands too much and had things
Yeah.
happen. The city of Liverpool knows it very well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's very safe anywhere you go. I think if your kid is brave enough and you're willing enough, that to sit in the lower Gladys, especially if you're in a big game, sit in the lower Gladys. If it's a game against, like, Watford, or Burnley or something, sit somewhere else in the ground just to get a better view. I always think sitting, because the one time I've sat on the stand, I know I said I hadn't sat in any stand but bar the Gladys, but I won a trip to see Everton play against City. And I won it from the Premier
That's
League. And
so sweet.
I sat in like the press box basically. Like I was right behind some commentator. I can't, one of the NBC ones. I can't remember who it was now. Arlo White. It was Arlo White. And I was like right behind him.
He was the
listening to him
only one I was
commentate.
gonna say. I was gonna be like, it's
Yes.
Arlo.
Yes, it was Arlo. Yeah. And
Oh my
funnily
gosh.
enough, at halftime, we lost that game. We got smacked by City. It was when Allardyce was manager.
Oh, one of
So
those
right,
not
it
in the
was.
face games. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And like at halftime, we were down 2-0, and he's like took it off. And he's like, "Well, that was fucking dreadful. Like, hope that doesn't ruin any rating for your show." But
No, we're doing all right.
he was cursing a lot. Like after like he took the second he took his headphones off, he said about 6 or 7 different curse words. And like he must have been like really wanting to release that. Like that was building up in him throughout that whole first half. But just anywhere you sit in the ground, it's going to be safe. Honestly, if you bring a kid, they're going to have a good time. People are going to look out. They're not going to, step on them. They don't have to worry about getting crushed or anything. It is very much a safe experience for children anywhere in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wasn't sure if it was kind of like there's sometimes, I figured safety wise it was fine. It was more of a like, hey, you're not supposed to bring kids here. You know what I mean?
No,
or anything
not at all.
like that.
No, nobody would care.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah. That's just feel like so question, do you pre-drink and then at halftime go have another pint and then go back, or at any point are you pieing it up? Is this
Gerry. I eat my weight in pies, man. When I go over there, I get my fix. Like I get my fix. Like I've been running and working out pretty hard this past month so that when I go there, I can eat a pie every day and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to be massive when I come home, but like, yeah. Before the match, you're always, you go and I'll be with mates, so we'll go and get a pint at you know what? I might as well. I know we'll probably answer that in the mailbag, but since we're talking about it, I'll go ahead and say where to go and get a pint before the match. The Winslow Hotel's right next to the grounds. It's a great pub. It's usually really busy though, so just understand that it's going to be kind of shoulder to shoulder. But it's a pub that's been next to Goodison for maybe 100 years. Dixie Dean drank there. Like it's got a lot of history in it. A lot of history in that place. It's a really cool. It's blue and white inside. You can tell it's an Everton pub for sure. The Royal Oak is just down the street from Goodison. That's where I first drank when I first started to go to the match. And it's a nice pub. Honestly, it is. It's very classic British pub. With like dark room and the red carpet and green pub seats or whatever. And then the Brick is the other one. The Brick's different. The Brick is like it's a pub where you would say like the hooligans, quote unquote, go to. There's not really like a sect of hooligans anymore in any club in the Premier League. Like they still kind of have their own thing, but it's not like it was. But that is where if something's going to kick off, it'll be at the Brick. And
that may be why I've heard of it.
Yeah, the only experience I've had there, I went to a derby at Anfield. And I went with some mates, and beforehand we went and drank at the Brick. And when we walked up from the Brick to Anfield, because it's just a mile up the road, we had a police escort. And things kicked off like up the road. Like we got up the road, we're going around Stanley Park, and you pass some Liverpool pubs, and somebody at one of the pubs threw a bottle into the crowd of Everton fans, and it's just it was just crazy stuff like that. There's clashes. It was very intense, very exciting. It was kind of funny. I had like a bottle opener because my friends and we had bought like some bottles of Heineken from a little a convenience store near us. And I still had it in my pocket. I'm like, wait, if I go into the grounds and they search me and find this, they're going to like kick me out. I might get deported. So I took it and I like threw it into the park. I didn't know what else to do. Like, I was like, I can't just like should I just hand this to a cop and be like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, take me away. And he won't know because they're all like hyped up in that moment. You've got cops on horses, like riding around, telling people to move. It's very
I would have done the safest thing. The safest thing. Just like, what? I will take the loss on this bottle opener.
Yes, exactly.
Because especially at that moment, where you're kind of like, you got to make a decision fast. Otherwise, you're like, you lose this, or you lose like being where you are.
Exactly.
So,
Option. Absolutely.
Forrest, that's crazy, man. That's awesome. That's next week.
Yep.
and the derby is
The week
as we talked
after.
about before. Yeah,
Yeah.
that Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are you seeing any other games besides the derby?
So kind of the way the trips lend itself, I don't think that'll be a possibility. The only other game that's going to be in the time period that I'm there is Brentford away.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be up in Edinburgh. And that's all the way. It's a London away. It's like an
Mhm.
8-hour train journey. It was like $200 for the ticket, for like the train ticket. And then because Brentford's a ground Everton haven't played at for like 60 years, everybody wants
Yeah.
to go. And so tickets are impossible to find. Like I could fly, like I thought about buying a ticket in the home end. They had a few available, but I couldn't make the trip. I'd have to go from Manchester to London and stay there overnight. And it's just the way it worked, it wouldn't work out. And then we're leaving. The day we leave is Arsenal at home, and I just wouldn't be able to make that work either. So it is what it is. I'm
Yeah,
glad we're
but
getting
still,
one, and it's a big one. Yeah, I'm glad I'm
yeah.
getting the derby.
Plus, yeah, you're not in a situation. You kind of you do this yearly. Now, I know
Mhm.
some folk, like if it's their first time and they don't know when they're going to go back in the near future, they're kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to pack every kind of game. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be just Everton. I want to see every league,
Okay.
every
Yeah. I'll try
level,
to. Yeah.
everything. You
I'll
know?
try to. I've done that before. I've been to a League One game before. I've been to like some like Sunday League stuff too. Um, yeah, I watched Oldham versus Lincoln City. That was League Two
Ooh.
actually a couple of years ago. It was actually really cool because Lincoln City were playing really well at the time. They were top of League Two. I think they won the
Mhm.
league that year, so it was cool to see them play. It was like a 1-1 draw. It was super cold. Um, and it was just very unique to be in that atmosphere because, of course, it's still professional soccer, but
Mhm.
it's hard to find a comparison to it in the U.S. Maybe like kind
Yeah.
of USL and NASL to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
I think the stature isn't the same just because of
I
the
don't either.
longevity of these clubs in the UK, just because they're very community based and have been there for 50, 60, 70 years. And Oldham used to play in the Premier League. Like they've
Yeah.
got a lot of pride behind their supporters and behind the way the club is run. It was a very cool experience to do that. And it was like the stadium was like set right in the middle of this town. Like there's houses right there, exactly like Goodison
Mhm.
is. Like it's cool to see that because every stadium is unique like that.
That's very cool. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'd love to be able to check out games like that one.
Yeah, and
I
we'll
have
see. We'll see
no.
if I can get to one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I might try to go to Glasgow and see Rangers play. I like
I
Rangers.
was I wasn't sure if you were gonna try to go see something in Scotland. That was gonna be my other question, is if you
Yep.
were gonna try while you're up there.
Yeah, I
So
was looking at the Edinburgh teams, Hearts, and I think it's Saint something. I can't remember who the other one is. Hearts and Mids, and Hibernian. That's who it is. Hibernian.
Hibernian Hibs. Yeah.
Hibs. Yeah. Neither one's it's just not gonna work. It's okay. If I can just get
Okay.
Derby in, I'll be good, man, and then I'll get my
I mean,
fix.
to be honest with you, that's like the crown jewel in the
The
Evertonian
game. Yeah.
cap, right? It's
Especially if we
yeah.
can win. I haven't seen us win one yet, so
Goodness gracious.
because the Anfield one was the one where Pickford, you know what happened. You know what happened. He kept the ball in, and then the 93rd minute, last kick of the game. Yeah, that's like a nightmare. That was a nightmare. God.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we gotta cleanse. Do a cleansing breath on that one.
Yeah, Jesus.
So anyway, Bill, I appreciate you sharing all that and you being
Yeah, of
like
course.
so like open and patient with, because I know there's a lot of stuff. I think a lot of times, with when you're thinking like, oh, I'm American, I go to watch an American team and I got my jersey with my favorite player's name and number on the back. And
Sure. Yeah.
clearly people are going to be wearing that, right? And it's sort of
For the
like
most part, yeah, there will be people. Yeah, of course.
sort of, like adults,
It,
maybe not as
you,
much with the names and
you're
numbers,
not
right?
gonna like people. I mean, the people that are gonna look at you weird, they're not gonna say anything to you directly. It's not gonna be a problem where somebody's gonna be like, "You don't belong here." Like it's not what
Right,
Everton
right.
is. It's not what
It'll
Evertonians
be
are,
it'll be
especially. Yeah.
mumble,
Yeah, I mean, and to each other, right? Like, oh, I wonder
Yeah,
if he's for. Like my Newcastle away, my first match, I wore an Everton shirt with a name and number on the back,
yeah.
like out from the bus into Newcastle. So, and like I could have gotten beaten up. Who knows? Like, because I was at a away game in Newcastle where the fans aren't too nice up there. So
Yeah,
it is what it is. Like, just go and be yourself. Don't. I don't know. For me personally, I don't like to make it a big spectacle. I just want to go and enjoy the match and be another person who
that's
goes and enjoys the match. And I
exactly.
think that's the best way to do it is to just take it in as just another person enjoying the match. Don't make it like this big thing. Like, you do what you want. Take your pictures. Like, enjoy it. Like, remember the moment and give yourself something to remember special things, especially a lot of history. And it's not going to be around forever. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
If you get the chance to go and see it and enjoy it and take it in for what it is. It's a very beautiful old historic stadium that houses the club that you love.
Very cool. Oh my gosh. So that is a heck of an opening segment, my friend. I appreciate it.
Was very long.
No, trust me, they get longer than that, man. I will say we can transition now though into the mailbag, which I have given like no attention to. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to figure that out. From Twitter, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. We are the very first, or this is technically the second question, but you've already mentioned it. Cameron from Carolina Toffees asked, what pubs you hitting for the derby? Some friends from the area are apparently going to be there as well. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, that kind of thing. So, I can only tell you I will be drinking coffee at my place of business.
Make it an Irish coffee. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just sneak a little Bailey's.
I'm sure. I'm sure the good folks at my my office will be totally cool with that. Performance actually gets better. So, by the way, before I go read this next question, I noticed something. Every time before mailbag, Toffee Blues John, puts out a tweet that says, and he puts out stuff on Reddit where he says, "Hey, Gerry's going to be joined by so and so. Well, today, Gerry's going to be joined by Forrest recording. Do you have any questions?" And I'm just going to say this as something I noticed. It got retweeted by, to me, like big time Twitter Everton celebrity, and I geeked out a little, and I, just peed, just 2 drops of pee because it was so.
Who was it?
Chico Azul.
Oh, Chico. Good old Chico.
I'm like, my favorite comedy writer, who also happens to be an Everton guy. And like he retweeted it, and I was just like,
he gets people on strings, man. He's great. I love Chico.
Gosh, what a puppeteer.
He really is. He's a mastermind. He really is.
Brilliant. My favorite words in the universe.
Piper, man.
Favorite words in the universe is when I look down my timeline and I see like Keith or one of the other names he's got just says, "Watch this." And I'm like, oh hell, here it comes. What fan base is he messing with now?
Yep, exactly.
It's just big fan.
He keeps it real topical, He does so well.
Gosh, it's brilliant. And then he does it, and all of a sudden gets one right. And oh my
God. The Gerard thing. He was like, everyone's like, oh, he's days ahead. Like, how does he know? All of a sudden his credibility is like skyrocketing. Yeah. He's good, man.
So the reason the reason I remember that is because I'm about to read one from Aaron Free, who is comes on the show a lot, and he is the Bowsy Toffee Tit that always has been contributing to the show for a while, and I've seen him respond to Chico a lot. So I was just like, oh, holy hell, Chico's taking part, and I geeked out a little bit. So yeah, thanks to someone who's probably not watching the show, but thanks appreciate
Chico
that,
Azul.
So Aaron, in our moment with Bowsy Toffee Tits, thank Frank, the international break's over. Would you sell Pickford to Spurs? And if so, what price and who is the replacement? Oh shit. I did not research a replacement.
No, replacement. I do have one in mind. I do have one, and I think the name would be, I think it'd be nice for a lot of American Evertonians. Here, I'll just say it, Zach Steffen.
I knew you were going to say that. As soon as you said Americans, I was like, oh, it's Steffen.
Zach Steffen. I don't know. I think, I doubt he'd cost too much, but I can't see. I've seen him play a lot. I don't think he plays too much for City. I think it's typically Ederson, and he'll play every now and again. But dude, I wrestled with this question earlier today when I saw the news that Conte wanted him. Like, at first I was like, no, there's no way he'd go. I don't think we'd sell him. But then I was talking to a friend of mine, and he really kind of made me think like, yeah, I mean, if we got like say 60 million for him, because we paid what, 35 from Sunderland, I think be worth 60 to 70. I mean, he's only 27, 28 years old. He's gonna have another 5, 6 years where he's gonna be able to stay at a really good level. So I think it could happen. I think he's at the right age where if they are willing to put up really big money for him, a goalkeeper is not an area where you have to spend a lot of money to replace him and still get decent quality. So I could see us letting him leave. The only issue and the only problem I could see arising from that is if you let one star leave, all the other ones are going to want to leave. They see it could become a revolving door, and especially with the financial situation we're in right now, we can't spend money. We're really tied up against financial fair play right now. It could be a case where you're like, oh, well, then Richarlison, wants to go to PSG and play with Neymar, and Calvert-Lewin wants to go to who knows, United or City. I could really see City going in for him personally because like they need a striker and he's English. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Calvert-Lewin. I'd love to see him stay. Of course, you want to see them all stay, but it could be a case where we start selling people again just because of the way this club's been ran for the past few years, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of, while you were talking, I was kind of like, no. I because immediately you're like, well, I don't know that we're like club wise, we're at a point where we just can't sell players. Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't sell players.
Right.
I feel like it's like you get to a point where, I mean, to be frank with you, we need money.
Yep.
We have positions we couldn't fill this summer because we're out of balance, where things are not balanced right now. And who is the most replaceable piece? I will say I remember what it was like before Pickford came in. It sucked.
Joel
really
Robles
rough.
and a very very fading Tim Howard, unfortunately, and
that little
Stecklenburg.
phase was rough.
Yeah, it was tough to see the way a lot of Evertonians kind of turned on him because he was just past it and still getting played. I think that last season he had with Martinez, that Martinez's first season, I think that was really where that was his last season where he was really in top form, and after that it was downhill for him, and it just wasn't recognized at the time. But he was a great keeper for us, and again, like you said, I think if you pick a position that would be the one you could replace the easiest, I think it'd be goalkeeper. I'd agree with that because I think that there's goalkeepers out there that can fit our style. I think what Pickford brings in terms of distribution, and like his penalty stopping ability and stuff, I think it's very valuable, but maybe it's a luxury for us. Maybe we just need a goalkeeper who's just good at shot stopping and we don't really need to worry about his goal kicks. And I'll go out on a limb and say, I don't think Pickford has been great this season in terms of like his distribution. I mean, I don't think the whole squad's been too great either, especially the past few weeks, but if we sold him now, I think it would be a position we could replace him in, and I think we get good money for him too.
I'm not hyped about selling him in the winter window.
Of course.
I will tell you.
No, that wouldn't happen. I don't think that happened.
That's hard, to give up a major starter at a position that's so hard to potentially be buying a player that hasn't been a starter for a while. Like let's like you mentioned, Zach Steffen as an example. He's been a backup at City for a couple of years, and before that, he was starting for Dusseldorf on loan. I'm trying to remember where he was before that. If he was in America before that, or if he had one additional year of being on loan somewhere. But yeah, man, it's a risk during the winter. It's a big risk to a position of stability like that. To trade out. And I don't really feel like we're feeling secure enough about our backups to take that kind of risk.
No, definitely not. No.
Very down with it though later.
We couldn't do a Begovic for 6 months. I think that'd be really, really tough and would put us in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So I'm okay with it, first thing in the summer. I'm okay with entertaining that. It balances some things out. We can spend, we can finally fill the gaps because of which there are many.
Yeah. Jesus.
I'd like
midfield.
to, And the backups for left and right back. Holy crap. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's been Godfrey on both sides, so that is what it is. And I think against Spurs, he was a little bit more back to his old self. It looked like, but he can't play every position in the back line. He just can't.
Yeah.
And we need to have natural right and left backs, and we don't.
Yeah.
We have nobody really.
Yeah. Stopgap every once in a while, but
Uh-huh.
I don't want that to be the rule. Do you think Delph has stepped up recently to push a move to a decent team for free at the end of the season?
I think he stepped up because it's a contract year for him. And I think you see it in every sport. When it's a contract year for a player, they typically perform to the best of their abilities, or at least attempt to do that, because they're trying to win a contract, whether it's here at Everton, whether it's at another club. I think in his mindset, he probably wants to play for another few years. He's still of an age where he could at a decent level. And whether it's with us, I don't think it'll be with us. I think that ship's kind of moved on. He'll get a good 7 months of play with us, because I'm sure there'll be opportunities for him, and then he'll move on somewhere. So it's probably just him it's just saving his career, just making sure that he can keep himself fit and just find a place for him to stay. I could see him moving to MLS personally and doing really well there.
See, immediately I asked that same question of myself, dude.
Yeah.
MLS versus like a championship team, which I actually sort of hold the championship in higher regard than MLS.
I agree. I agree completely.
I figured you did too. But I didn't want to just necessarily assume, just in case, to be like, no, let me just say something that's totally obvious, and if it's not your opinion, then I feel like a dick. But it's
okay.
But I could see him doing that, because he seems just, his game just feels very, I don't know, the way he understands the game seems very like, I understand the English game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the way he comes across, like that's the way he plays. And so I feel like he could, but I also feel like he's the kind of guy that if the level he plays at is too low, his pride would say, no.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be a money thing too, maybe. I think at this part of his career, he'd be a little more money motivated. So if he could just go to MLS and get like a DP contract or something, right, and make a few million, and of course taxes are going to be better for him too. Honestly, like there'll be a lot of factors for him to move to an MLS club. So we'll see.
Here's
we'll see what happens with him.
If you're an MLS club, do you pay the money for a player that has injury problems like that?
No. What? No. You'd be crazy too, honestly.
See,
you'd really be crazy too. Yeah.
That's what's weird though, is the idea of spending a spot on him.
Yep. It's going to be on if somebody needs a player like him in a position where he can play. Honestly, it's all it's going to be for him, and that's all he's going to try to prove for the rest of the season. And I hope he continues to put in good performances for us and find some modicum of form that keeps up, because we could use a freaking midfielder who can win the ball back and spray a pass out, because we don't really have that, bar Decore. And even Decore, that's all we have really. Just our midfield is very, very light, and it'd be nice to have at least one extra option, just one, just a little, just one.
Yeah, you hear these rumors. Benitez wants a Decore-like player. Well, of course he does.
Everybody wants a Decore-like player,
right? All right, so that is. Oh yeah, Aaron's last question. Why did you choose the pain of supporting Everton? I think we've talked about this before.
What? I didn't choose it. We're chosen. Come on.
I will be honest. I don't think I knew it would hurt this bad.
Didn't know what you were getting yourself into.
but I'm okay. I'm doing all right. I don't know if I knew I was gonna get this like hooked with my teeth this sunk in. Which I think is a testament to the team and the culture and the people and the connections. For sure.
Yes.
I
definitely think that the fans and the way the club presents itself brings a lot of people in. But now we need to be a club that has what happens on the pitch and the results and the trophies we win bring people in. Like, no, you don't really just want a bunch of glory hunters supporting you, because then you kind of lose the heart of the club. You just get people who just want to see something win. Right. But could you imagine what it would be like to win something as an Evertonian? Come on. Oh, I dream of it. I honestly do. If some cop-ite's going to listen to that and hook onto that and like make a video of it and be like, no Evertonian's ever going to win anything. Like, just like, because they're cop-ites. You know how they are. But
they're
it'd be nice. Yes, it'd be really nice to see us win something. I would. Oh, I'd give a lot. I'd give a lot to see us just win the freaking League Cup, like anything. It's like a little
Yeah,
tiny trophy too, but I'd love to
yeah,
see us win it, just to see us win
totally
something.
fine with that.
Yeah,
I'd be ecstatic. Holy crap.
over the
Uh,
moon. Oh, I'd be crying.
yeah. So, funny, quick story. Uh, this past weekend I was in Richmond for my wife was running a half marathon there, and of course, I messed up my back, so I wasn't allowed to run the 8K portion. But so we're there, and we need somewhere to go eat the night before, and I want to get a drink, I want to get a beer. So we're like, oh wow, just down the road there's a bar. It's called Penny Lane. It's an English pub. Sweet.
Ah,
Let's
I know that bar too. It's a good
like
place.
let's go there. And by the way, I just gonna go ahead and say it. It was great. It was cool. All right. But I will say, my wife has like a puffy Everton jacket, and it's got the badge on
The
it and
badge,
everything.
yeah.
So as soon as we walk in, I look over. I'm like, I wonder if they're gonna have like Premier League stuff. I wonder if they're gonna have like national team games on tonight. Maybe they got like a pregame on or something. I don't know. So we walked in, and there at the host stand is a man folding a Liverpool flag. As soon as I walk in, and I was like, that answers my question. And I look
Yeah.
up, and it's Liverpool everywhere. It's like just slathered all over the bar. It is a Liverpool bar. And so we're like,
Yeah.
two, please, for dinner to eat, drink. And he goes, all right, and he looks at her coat and he goes, I'll seat you away from the Liverpudlians. Don't worry. So it was cool though, because to be honest with you, it wasn't like one of those like weird things where they saw
Sure.
this and they were like, it actually, to be frank with you, I like the fact that there's an American bar that's dedicated to like I'm more about like soccer culture right now and
Yeah,
making
of
sure
course.
that we are getting that going. But I will say the second time we went and had a drink there the night after, like just to get a beer, he totally sat us right underneath this huge picture of Stevie G. And he was like, "Is that fine for you guys?" And I'm like, "Well, you got me next to this guy, but whatever, man." You know, I was
Yeah,
like, "This,
yeah.
you got me next to the Aston Villa manager." You know what I mean? What's up?
Right. Yeah.
But
What
no,
else did he do in his career? I don't know. He's just managed Aston Villa and Rangers. That's it.
but
I
they
get
were
it.
actually, the guy was like really cool. But it
Yeah,
was
I'm
it
sure.
was one of
Yeah.
those weird things that you have that moment where you're expecting like a record scratch,
Yep.
as you
Yeah.
enter the place, everybody's like,
Yeah.
but
The
it
music
was cool.
stops.
It was cool. I got like some kind of chicken curry dish.
Lovely. Oh,
It was a
chicken tiki masala. I don't know.
it was just a cool little, cool
Yeah.
experience. And so anyway, back to what we were talking about. I just realized it was like, oh yeah, I experienced with decent Popeyes the other day. It was all right.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been a
Mm-hmm.
lot worse. So Reddit question, and I'm just going to go ahead and preface this for everyone. We get dedicated, thoughtful questions from 9Yoshi5 like often. Okay, it's almost every time we put a call out. This person is great, very thorough. Well, this time Yoshi has put it forward 3 questions, and they're like little mini essays.
Okay.
It's staggering how
Okay.
much effort went into this. So
Okay.
I just want to say that out loud.
All right.
It seems like everything's important that's on there, so I can't really skip anything, but I'll just try to get through this.
Sure.
So question 1. It is well known that we've been crying out for an alternative permanent replacement for Coleman at right back for a number of seasons now, but we are digressing away from the underlying. Are we digressing away from the underlying problem? If we can't land a right back alternative, then if there are suitable players that have a long-term future at say left back, midfield, and other areas of the park, then can we pluck from lesser leagues like Leicester did with Vardy, we did with Coleman, Arteta, Cahill, and even Baines for a mere $5 million from Wigan, even though they were a Premier League side in? Then would that be such a bad thing? For low fees, we could resell for much bigger profit if they turn good. It's clear as soon as we have a slew of injury problems like this and last year, we lack depth and cover. Our recruitment should be to plan 3 to 5 years ahead. Yet we're down to one available proper right back, not including Kenny, given his likelihood to leave this year, and left back now. Is that our recruitment team that is failing to bring in proper talent, or is it youth coaching staff failing to help our youngsters reach their potential? I'm just going to say, Yoshi,
Good question.
the claws are out, and
Good
Yoshi choosing violence.
And chose violence today.
Yes,
a very good question, though. There's a lot to it, actually.
So you want to start with, is it a bad thing to buy from lower leagues for lesser fees?
No,
I agree.
No, that's a very straightforward thing. And then something needs to change with the way the club has been operating since Mashiri took over. What we've been doing, buying players for very high fees and them just not working out. And then, whether they're established players or not, we have not been hitting on very many diamonds. We haven't, and I think when you think back when they hired Steve Walsh, right, as director of football, and there was all this hubbub made about, he was the guy who found Conte and Mahrez for Leicester, and and then Vardy and all this other stuff. Like, he was the guy who found these people in these lower leagues in France. He's going to do this for us. What we did was we gave a guy who was a scout the responsibility of negotiating deals. So we took something that he did already and made it that much harder and that much more of a responsibility for him. So the guy, like we can go right to the recruitment question. It's recruitment and it's youth coaching. Gerry, I'd like you to say something first, because there's a lot I could say about this, and I want to hear your opinion first.
I would hope that Marcel Brands knows some players in lower leagues that he's willing to take a risk on. Okay, because it is a risk, right? These are players who don't have much experience at the top level in England, right? The assumption is they don't, and so there is a risk. And and if it doesn't pan out, then you got the naysayers immediately like, "What did you expect? Look where they came from," And there's gonna be that. Having said that, it's not. I'm very down with some calculated risks when it comes to that stuff. I think if you ask anyone, people would have been way more excited about if we were to sign Gabriel for the same amount that we signed Godfrey, right?
Yep.
And Godfrey had just been in the Premier League, but he was back down in the Championship, right? So I believe that's correct.
Yep.
So my thing is, yes, I think the Championship is an equal tier league to a lot of other foreign leagues, and there's a lot of good talent to be had there. Usually younger.
Oh yeah.
And so I think it's a great plan. I love the idea of doing it. I'm not really one of those who likes to say, "Oh, I was right," you know what I mean? And not that anybody gives a shit if I did. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that I would hope Bronze and a lot of the people at Everton would start to figure out, because there's a lot of stuff I don't know that they really care what our opinion is and are. And
the people at the club don't really care what our opinion is on the way the club operates at all, honestly, besides like match day experience or whatever. There is a model that Everton needs to follow for clubs that has been or is being used by, and the one that always comes to mind is Leicester. Look at what Leicester have done for themselves, and you have to look at who Leicester were as a club before they won the league. A few years back, they were a club who I don't think they'd ever won a major trophy before that one. So they were a club that had just been in the Premier League. They'd been in the top league, the first division, what are you going to call it? They yo-yoed, and they were a yo-yo club, and that one they've been around a long time, and that was their history. And they came in and they got things right. You could call it luck, but with the players, they got a player. Really, it's Conte who carried them. He really is probably the best defensive midfielder in the world. The guy is just unreal. He's a workhorse. He's great in the tackle. He's great technically. Like, he is very much a fantastic player, and he's the player that carried Leicester to that championship.
He's so top to bottom with everything.
Yes, exactly. He's the kind of player that will not be flashy. He's not going to, we all know who he is. He's just an incredible midfielder. But they got the recruitment right, and they did it right by taking calculated risks on young talent, and that's the main thing. That there's a key word there, and it's young. And what Everton have not done is gone for young talent. They've gone for established talent. You look at Sigurdsson, you look at Klaassen. Sandro was a young guy, but he was still 21, 22. I mean, I'm talking like what Crystal Palace have done, bringing in Conor Gallagher. You know, you look at what West Ham have done, and with Declan Rice, you know, and he's their player. Like he is a homegrown player for them. But you look at Declan Rice, you look at they have a right or left back. I can't remember his name, Johnson, I think, who they got from the lower leagues. That's really performed well for them. And they get their recruitment right because there's no carousel of managers, man. Like we are very fickle as a club, and it started with Martinez and the fact that he brought in Lukaku permanently and didn't have any money to invest in other areas of the squad that really needed it. But we needed Lukaku. We needed to bring him back. We needed that token striker, and he's the guy who carried us for 4 or 5 years. But we're never able to get all the pieces together and get them right. And it's been like that since Mashiri took over. And now we're at a point where we can't spend money, and we are now forced to go into the bargain bucket and get people like Tamari Gray and Andrews Townsend, and Asmir Begovic. And because we don't have a choice, because we have to bring in somebody. If we don't bring in anybody, we're going to get relegated. We're going to be a club that's very much struggling and fighting for survival. And now with financial fair play, our hands getting forced, but also with the way soccer is now, like you cannot just go and say, I want this young talent from the championship and think you can just pay £3 million for him. No, we looked with Max Aarons in Norwich. We everybody wanted him, but Norwich wanted 35 million for him because clubs know the value of their players now, especially an English player. What the English premium's a real thing. And when a club wants to buy an English player, especially a young English player, you're talking about a 200% increase at least on the fee. That's why I say Pickford's probably going to go for 60, 70 million. Like if he goes for 50, I think that'll be an insult. Personally, I don't know. Like they just really need the money. They must have really needed the money at that point. But we need to follow a model where we invest in a manager and we invest in a system, and we continue to find managers that fit that system, because all we're doing is we're going through managers. We went through Martinez, who played tiki-taka 4-2-3-1, small triangles. We went to Koeman, who just, the guy's a psychopath with the way he plays soccer. He doesn't know how he wants to play. He wants to play tiki-taka sometimes, and then other times he just wants to sit long, and he doesn't set up a team either way. We went to a Silva who didn't really have, he had a season where he did well. We finished 8th, but he didn't have a plan that was set for the players, and he didn't get players that fit his system still. We are stuck with players that don't fit one system. And so we continue to try to shoehorn players in and put Ben Godfrey at right and left back, and to play Alex Iwobi in every single position except for striker in the front three and still watch him flounder and do nothing, and play Richarlison on the right and the left and the center, because we just don't know where these players fit best. We don't have a manager who plays them in their best position and gets the most out of them. And I would love to see Rafa do that. I know his Liverpool connection. I just want to see any manager do that. I don't care who it is. I want to see somebody get it right for us. And it needs to, when I talk about it with my mate, Danny, who's the one I talk about Everton the most with, he's very passionate about the club like I am. We say it starts at the top. It starts at the top with Everton, and it starts with the guy named Farhad Mashiri. It really does start with him and who he surrounds himself with and the decisions that they make for him. And we see there's now a rotation of board members at the club. Like it's constant rotation. It feels like a freaking clown car at times. Like nobody knows what's really going on and how the club's run and who the hell is making decisions on transfers. Like we thought Marcel Brands was supposed to come in and do that.
Like 4 different people.
And then all we hear is, oh, well, Mashiri signs off on everything. So he's the one who has the final say. So what's the point of Marcel Brands' job then? And we're a club in turmoil. We're in a mess. And I would love to see us get sold under Mashiri and just get to somebody who really knows football and has a plan to make something work. Like, dang it, like
or I would be okay if Mashiri began to like learn. You know what I mean?
Cool. If he could do that, if he wants to, if that's something that he, if his ego.
Because I agree with you, man. My thing is, you have a director of football. Let's have the director of football be given a blessing from the board, from everybody above,
right, to make his own decisions.
Hey, make your own decisions, man. Let's dictate what's the type of style, type of play that Everton Football Club are going to play. Let's think about that. Okay.
Yep.
And then let's think about when you bring in a manager that fits that. Then you start thinking about youth teams, you start developing players that fit those qualities.
Didn't even talk about the youth team. I mean,
Yeah.
like we've got a great U18 and U23 setup. They do really well in their respective leagues. A couple of years ago, the U23s won, like they did a double. They won a tournament and they won their league. That's great. That's dandy. But what use does a U23 league title do for anybody? What does that do? That means that you had a system that worked well in one league. That's great. Are you developing the players to the best of their potential? Because right now we're not seeing any players from our academy make it into the freaking squad, man. Lewis Dobbin will make it onto the bench. Ellis Sims will make it onto the bench. They make it onto the bench because we don't have other players to fill in. They don't get significant real game time. Dobbin gets like 5 minutes at the end of some games. Sims doesn't make it onto the pitch. John Joe Kinney's not cut out. He needs to go. Tom Davies, I feel for the guy. I like Tom Davies a lot. I met him in person. He's a really good, solid lad, but I don't know. I don't think he's fit for Everton. I don't think he's really a footballer, in my opinion. But yeah, we don't see like the level of coaching that we need to get a player into. And I know it's hard to make a Premier League player. I know it's hard. I know it takes a really special talent to be able to play in the Premier League, especially at 16, 17, 18 years old. But if it's not happened in the past 5-6 years, and it's only been Tom Davies, then what are we really doing? What are we really doing as an academy? And where is that coaching really leading these players? Because we see players make it back to the Premier League that played at our academy before.
I will say, Anthony Gordon's doing all right now.
Anthony Gordon, yes, yes, you're right. I totally forgot about Anthony Gordon. Yes, I love seeing Anthony play. Yes, and it's good to see him come into his own as a player. I did totally just skip over him.
You want to know why? Because we take him for granted a little bit.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, man. No, I get it. I definitely get it, and I'm with you. I will be curious with all these injuries that we're having, and with all these young players kind of filling in. Like Onyango is a player I've been really curious to watch more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that injury was really bad for him. It was a bad time for him to have that.
Yeah. He was a player that I've been really been waiting to see come back from injury.
Yep.
I was really curious to see if he could just fill in at the end of a game, that kind of thing, just to see.
That's the thing, though, is we just don't see
them early, right?
I don't know, man. Like, I never think it's too early for a player if they're good enough. I think if you think a player is good enough,
that's always going to be the
sure. Like. And maybe if they really don't think they're good enough, then okay, you got to trust the decision of the coaching staff. You got to trust the decision of the manager. But I mean, they've got to be better than what we have on the bench. They've got to be better than watching Tom Davies. I hate going back to the guy because I really do, but like it's just hard to watch him play. It's hard to watch Andre Gomez play. You know, when it's not Decoy or Allen in midfield, we don't know who's playing in midfield. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we have one. It gets bypassed very easily. And it would just be nice.
Or Delph now.
Delph, yes, of course. I'd like to see Delph come in and play, but dang it, I want to see young guys from our academy play because I think that's what football's about. I think it's about
and the thing is, don't you get
players.
excited when you see
get more excited?
Young academy player.
Just wait until Gordon scores his first goal. Just wait until he scores his first. I hope it's in the derby. Oh my gosh, if he scores in the derby, it's gonna go off. Woo, I can't wait.
Yeah, but there's, I'm curious to kind of see if because of our lack of depth, if these young players get more time as the season progresses.
I hope they do.
And to see how they step up. And I will say, I've been psyched at the fact that Rafa is putting these players on the bench.
Yes,
that's
I agree.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
It's progress. It's progress.
Yeah. I do see some progress. And I don't know if it means that the players are more ready or if it's Rafa's philosophy to be like, no, I'm going to try them because I think they should be tried now. So I don't know.
It might be a needs must with injuries. It might be, they're training harder than the other guys, the more established guys, and okay. But I want to see them get minutes. That's it. I feel like at this point, sometimes, like a lot of times with a season like this, it feels like it's going to be bust. It feels like it's going to be a 10th place, 11th place finish. So why not give some younger guys a chance to bleed themselves and to really go out there and learn their trade and make themselves a player. And who knows, they could really develop. And I look at Harry Kane and who he was before he really came into the forefront for Tottenham. And he was a guy who was going out on loan and not really getting a lot of opportunities. And then one day Pochettino comes in and says, hey, I'm going to give you a try. And he goes and he scores like 10, 15 goals in the Europa League. And that was the making of Harry Kane, because he got the game time, because he got the trust from a manager. That was the making of him as a superstar forward. And that's what it takes to bring a young player into the forefront, is to give them chances, to trust them. Like, and if you don't trust them enough to play them, then I don't know. I don't know what to say. I would feel like they would need to move on. You look at somebody like Thierry Small, who went to Southampton. Maybe he just didn't feel like he was going to get a chance. He saw that. You look at Nkunku, who's gone on loan. Like, he would have opportunities here. Maybe he's not good enough, but like, dang it, he'd have opportunities to play at a very high level, which is going to help his game develop.
Yep. Yeah, it's always tough. Like, you want to give those young players opportunities, but then if they don't pan out, then you as a manager, you as a club, you take flack for putting them in too soon.
Sure. Right.
It's a weird line to walk. Ideally, right? Yeah. I mean, ideally you want to play them because you see promise. You feel like they can, so that's why I love the idea of, when you're developing your academy, you develop certain types of players, a certain style of play, and certain players to fit that style of play. You know what I mean?
And a style of play should go from the first team through the academy. You should have one style of play that the players learn from U11s up until they play in the first team. And that's how you create players that are going to become superstars for you. It doesn't matter where they play for the rest of their career, but if they come in and perform in that system that's well established, then you look at, and it's the prime example is Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. The guy had their system, the academy, they play the same way. And that's why so many academy kids come and they play so well in the system, because they know it. They know it right away. You can't just expect to throw them in and they don't know what the hell they're doing, because they've been playing a 4-4-2 for the past 2 years of their life, just lumping balls forward. Like,
you learn roles on defense, on attack. You're sitting there, you're playing a certain press, and now you know what the triggers are because you've been doing it already.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You've been doing. That's what you do in training. What you do in your U23 games. It doesn't matter. The results in your U23 league don't matter. It's like the results in your U11. They shouldn't count. They shouldn't keep track of them, honestly, because you're there to develop as a player. You're there to get game time and be game fit, so that when the manager needs you in the first team and you're training well enough to be able to get up there, you're ready to step in, and you're playing in the same system. And that's just not happening. It's just not happening.
No, I'm with you. We've had this conversation before on when I used to do a different Toffee Blues show with the guys in England, and we've talked about this before. I've talked about when we've had guests on the show, and it's funny. Like, I know of MLS teams, they try to do that. Like, I know
it's the right thing to do.
New York Red Bulls, they sit there, and I remember meeting a parent of a New York Red Bulls player. It was a young kid, like U14 team. Right. And he said, the thing that impresses me is they're getting these kids to play the same style as the MLS team is. And they're teaching them the same roles. And I was just like, that's impressive. And why in the hell is it done otherwise?
Because the stability's not there. The structure's not there. It's what it is. And when you have a revolving door of managers and you've got them giving different ideas for the youth academy, and you've got a director of football that's got ideas for the youth academy, and a head of youth development, and a U23s coach, and a U18s coach, who all are not on the same wavelength and not on, following the same picture for the way that players to develop, then it's chaos and nobody's going to develop, and you lose your talents, and they go out on loan when they shouldn't go out on loan, and they should be playing for the club. And then you get stuck in a situation like we're in, where you
shouldn't have to blank slate it every time you get a new manager.
Exactly.
You should not have to be like, oh, now we need something to match this manager who's totally different. You know what I mean? It's just, Anyway, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're getting so many of these pragmatist style managers, because they're just like, oh, we're gonna do what I need to with what we have, and I'm gonna make something out of what we have, and it's just too much of that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that.
You said Yoshi had 3 questions. We've done
my gosh. Dude, we did the shit out of the first one. That was the longest one, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
Second one, why do our Everton board seem so inept at communication? When I told you, Yoshi, the claws are out. When Mashiri arrived, we heard him announce with some confidence that he was going to do great things at Everton, not let Everton become a museum. Yet, whilst we see developments of a stadium, which is true, um, when the going gets tough for them, we hear very little. Is it a
Yeah.
sign that Mashiri is starting to lose interest in the club? Do you think he'll likely sell after the stadium has been built to recoup much of his losses?
It's a good question. I'd imagine he's probably pretty frustrated because it's becoming a very big loss for him. And it's not going the way I'm sure he would have wanted to pan out. I'm sure he would have imagined, and when he bought the club, that we'd be playing Champions League football, or at least European football right now, and we'd be established and be really looking forward to having a new stadium and kicking on more in terms of marketing and bringing in new fans and growing in the Americas and South America or wherever. But it is just not the case. And the one name that always pops up when it comes to Everton being sold is Alisher Usmanov, who Mashiri knows very well. I could, him, Ryoshi bringing that up kind of just brought the idea of, well, maybe the grand idea is to build a stadium and then sell it to Usmanov, and then it really kicks into gear and we bring him in. Like, who knows? I don't know. Who freaking knows what's going to happen, honestly. I'd imagine he's pretty committed right now, but I could go along with him wanting to sell it once the stadium is built. I honestly could, because then that's a huge asset. He can get more money for it. He spent a lot of money, invested a lot of money into it, and then he can walk away and say, well, I spent 10 years there or whatever. But
yeah, I think if results get a little stronger, then I think he'll stay, and
if we were to
it won't feel like such a bummer,
Sure. I mean, I'm sure if we were finishing in a European place next year or something, then yeah, okay. Why wouldn't you want something that's appreciating in value? But right now, Everton is depreciating in value, unfortunately, at a pretty rapid pace, just because of the money we've spent on transfers, and we've not made any money back because we're not spending money on young players who we can sell on. We're spending money on old people who are just going to depreciate in value. And sure, if they're doing well for the club,
there's nothing wrong with old people.
No, not at all. I'm just saying, not at all. No, I'm an old person. Like, if they bought me right now, I'd be considered. If they bought me, I'd be considered an old player. I'm 27. Like, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, he's not going to appreciate in value. That's what. But it doesn't matter. I mean, if they're performing well on the pitch and you're getting results, that's one thing. But they weren't. Think of somebody like Morgan Schneiderlin, who we bought for 25 million in January, gave him 100,000 pounds a week to play and do nothing, and then towards the end of the career, and then we let him leave for like 2 million. Like, that's the thing. It's like we're letting these players leave for pennies. You look at Sandro Ramirez, who we were paying.
Sandro kills me, dude.
We paid so little for him, but we were paying him 150 a week for him to not play and to be awful, like genuinely like a bad player. Like, I don't want to really heap onto the guy, but there's just so many instances. Look at Gylfi Sigurdsson, who now just is probably never going to play for the club again because of all this stuff that's happening with him. Who knows what's going to, like, that saga is going to unfold in the next few months, I'm sure. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. It's good, but who knows what's going to happen? Somebody like Fabian Delph, who we brought in, has just not been able to compete. I don't think he probably has 50 appearances under his belt. Probably will never get to that. Davy Clausen's another. I mean, we've said these are names that everybody knows. We could all sit here and rattle off a list of names where there have been failed transfers that are not making the club any money. But the issue is that, again, what we said before, it starts at the top and it trickles down. And if the top is not going well and the top is chaotic and the board is chaotic, then everything else in the club is going to be chaotic, because it all has to be structured well. You got to have the right people in place. And we haven't had them.
I think it's the lack of communication is because of lack of confidence on their part. I think they see that there's not everything is going great. I think if they felt great about it, they'd be totally fine with putting out little videos and say, hey, this is our vision, la, la, la. But I think they're super not confident and they're nervous.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Well, they know that. And I think Mashiri, he probably didn't know what he was getting into when he bought Everton. I'm not going to lie, because Evertonians are very volatile. They're very, not all of them, but they can be very reactionary. And I think you see that really spill out, especially when results start not to go our way. When freaking Rafa got hired, like they will kick off, and they will kick off really heavily, and they'll really get involved, and they'll protest at the stadium, and they'll put up banners at the stadium. Like, they will do things that are going to get on TV and be bad press for you and make you uncomfortable as an owner or as a manager or whatever. And it's, I don't know. It's tough for them. It's tough for them. I feel for Mashiri sometimes, but he's got to find a way to do it right by us, man. He really does. Third question.
Last question from
Yeah.
Yoshi. Everton do a great job with the community and our streets ahead compared to some other clubs in the same league. But after a few seasons of bringing well-deserved attention to Everton in the community, it's about time the club. Oh wow! So this is.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I didn't know that's what this was. So
okay.
It's about time the club focused on the team's results on the pitch, getting up to the league to earn more share of the profits, get consistency in league positions, challenging for trophies, etc. It seems Everton are trying to pull a blanket over our eyes in not directly addressing their flaws and lack of achievements on the pitch and focusing on where they did well. Only doing the latter and settling for mediocrity in the league will only test the fortitude of Everton fans' patience. Can I start this one?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So I think it goes back to his last question about communication. All right. I don't think you take away those efforts. You know what I mean? I don't think you take away those efforts because I don't think those efforts, like effort toward that, draws any strength away from results on the pitch. You know what I mean? I just feel like they're different arms doing different jobs. And I think the real problem is that it's frustration with fans and what they're being told. So something bad happens in a game or we lose out on a transfer and then we get stadium
news.
You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. That's where I think the heart of that question comes from. I feel like Yoshi is not saying, hey, that's cool and all, but it's not as good as other stuff. It's not as good as on-field results. I don't think that's what Yoshi's saying. Yoshi's saying, you're throwing all this other stuff that you are doing well in front of us, but there's all this other stuff you should be working on. You need to acknowledge it. And to be honest with you, like me with my kids, that to me is a thing with my kids. Is like owning a mistake. Own it.
Yeah.
You know, don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't sit there and be the kid that punched your little brother in the shoulder and your little brother's now sitting there going, why? And you're just like, no, don't pretend it didn't happen. Own it. Like, yeah, I made a mistake. I punched you. My bad. You know what I mean? At least own it. Own it. You chose to do that. You made a decision. If it didn't work out, you got to own it. That's my biggest, that's where I feel like this comes from is a lack of communication and owning past mistakes or owning the fact that we got to have a vision and this vision needs to be communicated. And that's what everybody's biggest concern is to me.
Yeah.
Is if we're making mistakes, okay, let's talk about it and let's acknowledge that it exists.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, like we've said, it starts at the top. I think something that's been a trend on Everton Twitter for maybe a year now has been the blame game.
Yes.
People don't know who to blame. And so kind of everybody just gets the stick. Everybody gets it,
it's
man.
So comforting to be like, oh, it's your fault they scored.
Yes. And
One guy.
Yeah. I'd imagine that mentality is not just with the fans. I'd imagine that probably is mentality that's taken with people at the club, in the board, maybe even on the team, is that there's a lot of fingers being pointed and a lot of bucks being passed, and not a lot of people saying, putting their hands up saying, okay, this is on me. I need to fix this. And I think, there's a point that was brought up to me by a friend, and they said that Rafa, I think for Mashiri and for a lot of other people at the club, is kind of just a fall guy. Like, if things start to go bad on the pitch again, they can say, well, look, the fans will direct the fury at Rafa Benitez because of his former Liverpool connection. What I don't think that people at the club get, though, is that Evertonians are smarter than that. Even though maybe for the past couple of years, we've, like Yoshi's kind of said, we've kind of had the wool pulled over our eyes a little bit because we keep on holding on to hope, and we're trustworthy, and we want to see the club do well. I think ultimately Mashiri and others at the club cannot escape what this season could become if it becomes disastrous. And it will not be Rafa Benitez's fault. I wouldn't even put the blame on the players per se, even though they're the ones who perform on the pitch. I mean, I think it's going to ultimately fall at the feet of Farb Mashiri and other board members, and maybe even people like Marcel Brands. And as far as the Everton and the community goes, I mean, it's a fantastic charity that it should not be the forefront. I mean, yes, it is a great thing that Everton do, and soccer clubs, especially in the UK, are pillars of the community and do a lot more than just exist to provide entertainment. And that's a good thing. And when I've met directors at the club, because I've met a few high ups at the club before, like their vision has been very in line with what the charity does, and is being more than a club. And that's a great vision to have, you know, and I can totally understand where the frustrations of the fans come from, because you can be more than a club off the pitch, yet on the pitch you act like amateurs. I totally get where that frustration comes from, but Everton, the community, should never be associated with anything that happens on the pitch. Their name should never come out of your mouth when you're talking about Michael Keane or the way the team is going to perform against City, because they're just totally irrelevant. What the club does with the charity is totally irrelevant to what happens on the pitch. And the money that's invested into the charity does not take away from anything that happens with the football. But there's not so much money going into that and so much time and effort going into that, that it's taking away from what's happening on the pitch. And yet at the same time, I get the frustration of like, well, they're rolling out the charity again after we, got smacked by whoever 5-0 when we lost to Watford 5-2, and you get stadium news, or you get charity news about some, the media team wins an award or something for like Northwest, whatever. Like I get where the frustration comes from, though, because they're papering over cracks by, like you said, trying to put forward things that are good rather than owning up to mistakes but how do you own up to mistakes as a club? How do you do that on social media? Like, do you have him pen a letter to fans and put it out there for him to read? Because that can get pretty embarrassing. He'd have to do one every week, it feels like sometimes.
True. I think what you do is what I like is when you have a plan and you're confident in the plan, sharing that plan with people is
Sure.
nice.
Well, that's the issue then. Yeah.
That's what I'd like. And that's why there's clearly too many, I don't want to sit there and cliche the shit out of this, but there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen, eh?
Yep.
And, it's, so that's what it seems like. So for someone to kind of come forward and say, okay, well, we've been quiet, for a while, but just to kind of let you know, because I mean, who was it? Villa that came forward, and I guess it was Villa, and they were communicating, hey, yeah, we sold a great player, right? Sold a great player.
Yep.
And here's
what they did. Yes, they did like forward. A big video. Yes, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's not transparency, even like, right? That's what people
transparency.
Seek.
And people, and it builds trust.
Yep.
Because that's the thing, is you start when you don't hear anything, their paranoia builds, cynicism builds.
Yes, rumors start.
Yeah.
Yep. So I totally get it.
So anyway, I get where, all these questions, they're cutting, but I think we both we get where Yoshi's coming from. We get the mindset.
Well, and his words are a reflection of a lot of other Evertonians. Like I'm glad he's brave enough to say it and brave enough to ask us to talk about it, because it's not something that's a minority of fans. I don't think it's a minority of fans that feel this way. I think it's at least 40-50% of fans that feel this way, that really feel like the club is being let down by the people that are running it right now. And there's a lot of people that would rather die than see Everton go under. Trust me.
So last questions, then we move on to the quick City preview.
Sure. We say quick.
They gonna be good. That's my preview. They gonna be so good. All right. So John's questions are they're quick. Number one, Jesse Lingard at Everton, yes or no?
No. Nope. No. Been down that route. We've taken outcasts from other clubs. Sorry, but no. He had a great loan spell at West Ham because he had something to prove and wanted to play for United. No, I think if we did that, then we haven't learned from our mistakes in the past. And no, just no.
All right. Devil's advocate.
No.
Devil's advocate.
There's no devil to advocate for.
So in all seriousness, I don't hate the suggestion, only because I had a United fan at work talking to me about Lingard,
Yeah.
saying that one of the things that was really giving him trouble when he got loaned to West Ham is he was having some mental health stuff, some emotional stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
They've been at
which
United a long time.
yeah, and so it was getting to him, and so he went off and got a fresh start, and I got the impression that he just wants to play, period,
Yeah.
and that maybe
Right.
getting away from United would be good for him,
Sure.
period.
But
You
what is
know,
he? He's 29, 28 years old. Again, I think for
is
me,
he
it's
that
that
old?
he's not a young player anymore. He's not.
Okay, I gotta look that up, because if
Look it up real
being
quick.
29, you're right, that is a bit old to me, older than I was expecting. I'll put it that way. Um, this should be
He's
super
29. He's
fast.
28, 29 then. I was born in Warrington. I didn't know that.
So he is 28 or 29.
He's 28. He'll be 29 sometime this year.
Gotcha.
He's born in 92.
Oh yeah, like soon. He'll be 29
Yeah.
soon.
If he was
Okay.
24, 25, okay, maybe. But 29, man, again, that's like to me, that's like Theo Walcott all over again. And I think, yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as Walcott, but I agree with your age assessment. Like I don't necessarily agree with a player that has maybe some mental and emotional issues at one club, and he could find a home at your club and do really well. I know. We look at the fact that Demar Gray left Leicester, wasn't doing all that great, goes to
Right.
Leverkusen, isn't doing all that great, and then he comes to us and he looks awesome, looks
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
So
He's still got a lot to prove to me.
It depends on it here. Well, of course, totally. but at the same time, it's great. I think it's a way better transfer than anybody
Sure.
would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, for the money too. I mean, you can't complain. He's still got time to grow and learn as a player.
But does Lingard fit a profile for the type of soccer you want to play? That's what I'm wondering. So I think he's a good player. I don't want to spend the money on him, because my big issue is
it wouldn't be much. It'd be 10 million maybe.
And honestly,
I mean, at 10 million, it's just still, I don't know.
There's no
I think
resale
we can't keep doing
value.
the same thing. I can't, again, resale value is one thing, but if the player's performing well for you, okay, resale value doesn't matter because he's giving you that value on the pitch. But we've just been burned so many times by buying this sort of player in this age range with this same sort of profile, played at a bigger club and either didn't make it or is, starting to get phased out. Like, we need to start buying players that are just more hungry. I don't know. Like, I don't want to question Lingard's how hungry he is to be a successful player. And he obviously still has some years left in him, but I think we need to look elsewhere. We need to look younger. We need to look at building a team and trusting a process rather than trying to find quick fixes, because we've been trying to find quick fixes for 4 or 5 years.
I agree with about 95% of what you're saying. 95% of it. The only thing is, like, especially the age thing. But I'm not opposed to taking a 24, 25-year-old player from a different, like, quote unquote bigger club. I'm okay with that.
You just need to be careful with it. I think that's the main thing, because you could start paying them a lot of money, and then it's like you look at somebody like Alex Iwobi, who we haven't mentioned at all in the show so far, but the guy, we spent a lot of money on him, and he's still young. He's 24, 25 years old, just like you said, but he hasn't come in and really performed well, and he's not been consistent, and he's playing every week. So if he's going to find form, he needs to start finding it, or what's the point in him playing? So
we haven't had a lot of good examples of that particular type of system. Buying a player working for us lately.
Not since Moyes, really. Moyes was able to find the players that really fit his system, and they came hungry. They worked hard. Like, think of like a Tim Cahill. You think of Mikel Arteta. I mean, you think of Steven Pienaar, Leighton Baines. I mean, there's so many great players that Moyes bought. He's a manager with a really good eye for players. You see that at West Ham. Like, man, God, I'm jealous. I don't want to be jealous of West Ham, but God dang, am I jealous of West Ham, man? I hate it.
Yeah, I know.
I can't stand it.
But yeah, I think the only thing where I would say is I would prefer to do it case by case basis. You know what I mean? Just but overall, I think your point it would be my point as well. Yeah. I didn't realize his age. I thought he was younger. I thought he was like
Mm.
26. I had
Because the
no
media
idea.
still makes him out to be young. He was 26-year-old, and they were saying he was still a young player. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man, come on.
Like 26, I give him some interest, but 29, because he will be by the time we could get him. Yeah, no.
Yep.
All right. Question 2: Rohan or Gondor?
Gondor. I got the Tree of Gondor right here, man.
Do you really?
I do. I have the Tree of Gondor right there. I can't show you. I got a long sleeve on, but yeah, I got the Tree of Gondor. I got Smog. I got the Ring of Power. Like, yeah, but I'm Gondor all the way. You know, that's the city of men. They stand tall. Minas Tirith, standing tall. Like, come on, it's got to be Gondor. And I know Rohan's beautiful. Horses are great. Gondor, man.
See, here's the thing. I'm more of a Gondor person as well. I took me a second though, because there are aspects of like, I feel like Gondor is very looks down their nose at Rohan a little bit.
I get it.
I don't like that. You know, that bugs me. That's why I think at heart, I could think some Rohan thoughts, but I'm more of a mountains guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm more of a mountains looking. You know, I'm not really flat, and I'm not a horse riding.
No plains,
guy.
rolling plains.
Yeah,
right?
that's not my. Yeah, I'm more of a put me in the mountains. Yeah, and that the symbol of that tree.
I'd prefer to be in the Shire personally. That's where I'd like
to
be. On the Shire. That's it.
Okay, I like that. I also I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I'm a Rivendell guy.
Yeah, Rivendell's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing. I'm a river guy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The rivers that go through the Shire are a little more slow moving, more like the deep south. You know what I mean? Like the kind you would catch like straight up catfish in. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, man. So it's the thing about, but like you think about like straight up like the coziest place on earth, Hobbit hole.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I would love to have a Hobbit hole. I'd kill for that as a house.
Every single time we as a family we watch one of those, and they're in there, and oh man, my whole family's just like, we wanted it to, you know.
Let's build one. Let's find a hill. Build one.
Right. Oh, the round doors.
Oh yeah.
So final question. Film you like, but others might not.
Starship Troopers. Yeah, I love Starship Troopers.
Everybody I know likes that movie.
Okay, well then fair enough. Well, dang it.
No, really. But I know a lot of people when it came out that did. It came out and it got panned by a lot of folks. And I went. That was one of the first first DVDs I ever bought, man.
Okay, no way. Yeah, it was a good one. That was like one of my favorites growing up. It was really gory, and I love monster movies. So it was like giant bugs too, which are always really interesting. And so it was just cool. It was a good movie, and it was kind of making fun of like war movies and stuff back then. But at the same time, it also it took itself seriously without taking itself too seriously. It was good. It was a good movie.
There's a lot of goo.
A lot of goo, man. Still a lot of good practical effects.
Cronenbergian, like practical,
yes, exactly.
like weird, like So there's a lot of like goofy satire. It had early Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, like, Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah.
It was like short. It was like he had a little time after Doogie Howser, but before he became like this massive cultural icon. It showed up in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Yeah.
So it was this weird time where it was like, what even is Neil Patrick Harris anymore?
Yes. Yeah.
It was a strange movie. And then all of a sudden you're like, by the way, it's a movie you feel like, oh, it's sci-fi. Maybe I can show my kids. Boom, nudity happens.
Yes, right. There's like a shower scene. There's like 10 naked people there. It's like, oh, great. Okay, well.
He comes out of nowhere. So but I got to be honest, that is one that has aged really well.
It has really actually, well. It has,
and the effects are very cool
because it's good. It's like early CGI, but they didn't do too much. They had good practical effects. They blended it real well. Yeah, they did a good job with it. I watch a lot of like 80s horror for the practical effects. Like The Thing is my favorite horror movie, and it's just all straight like claymation really practical effects. It's good, man. It's good. It's not like I watched it recently with my girlfriend. So I was like, "Oh, you got to watch this," and she was just laughing at it because of course it looks so fake now. But I was like, "Come on, man! Like you got to appreciate like this guy's head attached to the ceiling, and they burned it, and then it came off his body and turned into like a spider thing. Like Come on, that's action. That's chef's kiss.
Yeah.
All right.
Very like if you ever like the Evil Dead movies and Army of Darkness,
Oh
the
yeah, I love
practical
Evil
effects
Dead.
in those are nuts. It's
Army of
so
Darkness. That's a
crazy.
good one.
Just straight silly stuff, by the way.
Uh-huh.
There's genuinely unnerving parts in the first two movies
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah. I didn't know where to go with this question. I'll be honest.
It's all good.
I like a lot of stuff. I will say this. Here's one that I know for a fact makes me a cinematic idiot to all of my friends. Okay. I saw Avatar in the theater. I didn't hate it.
Like the blue
James
one,
Cameron.
like the blue people. Yeah, James Cameron.
I didn't hate it. And here's the thing: as I'm watching it, I'm like, well, I've seen this story before. It's like Pocahontas, Princess
Yes.
Mononoke. It's
Right.
it's the same story. It has
Yep.
been done. For some reason, I don't know why. There was some weird, stupid stuff that I didn't, but I just kind of went along with it.
Yep.
Just went along with the journey. And I go back to film school after watching it with my brother and kind of having a cool movie moment with my little brother, you know. And I go back to film school and I'm like, yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it's all right. And they're like, it is stupid as hell. And you're an idiot. And I was just like, wow.
You're out. Kick her out of school. You're done.
It's just like, it was all my friends were like that. And I remember like the big, huge dagger in their heart was when it won the Oscar for best cinematography.
Yep.
And there's no real cinematography. It's all like special effects and CGI.
Yep.
And there's no reason it should win. It's like people think that just because pretty images are the screen, that makes cinematography.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that just, it blows my mind. And so that's the thing. Like, I didn't want it to win that, but they blew their top, dude. So now all these film people have this like axe to grind with Avatar. It's actually sort of funny, and there's another one coming.
I know. I can't believe they're making another. It's crazy the way they'll just cash in on anything. Like, all right, make it a series, 5 parts, TV show, anime.
Yeah.
Put out 2 comic books, make them limited release. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other movies that I like that other people
watch
hate,
a lot of movies personally. I don't watch a lot of movies.
I like a lot of bad movies, and typically other people who are like me like those bad movies. So I can't sit there and be like, oh, Birdemic. Yeah.
Oh, you know? Birdemic.
It's terrible, and I love it. You know, you give me Birdemic or Troll 2 or something just straight up stupid.
Oh my God,
like that.
They're eating him, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my God.
It's terrible. They made a whole documentary about that movie. All right, because it's so bad, called Best Worst Movie.
Jesus.
It's good.
What?
Yeah, it's a great documentary.
Have you just one last little side note here before we go to City? Have you seen Tiger King season 2 yet?
No. Is it out already?
Yeah, it's out. I'm like almost done with it. It's weird. It's weird. It's just weird.
I watched the whole first. It was during pandemic.
First season was good. The first season was good because Joe Exotic is a cool guy. I like Joe Exotic. Like, yeah, they're all kind of shitheads. They're all, excuse my language, like they're all kind of crappy people, honestly. But for entertainment value, Joe Exotic was the best one, and he at least made it interesting. Everybody else is like, oh, it's his fault and that fault, and freaking they all. I don't even know. It's not about like the Tigers anymore. It's just now about like the lawyers and stuff who are trying to make money out of it. You'll see if you watch it. You'll see it's weird.
My favorite character in the first season, who I was just like, wow, what a badass. It's that worker who worked on the zoo and got their arm eaten off, and then went back to work there. And you're just like, what are you okay? Like, are you okay up here, or are you just a total badass?
Total badass. Yep.
That's what I thought. I was just like, so we finished that, and I was just like, well, that one, that they're great, but everybody else is kind of like, you either feel so super sorry for them, or you're just like, damn, how terrible are they?
Like, damn, they
You know,
suck. They really suck.
yeah,
Like, that's like 9% of the people that show up in that thing. They really suck, man.
yeah,
They
for one
suck.
reason or
They're like
another. Yeah.
criminals. Like they're straight criminals. All right.
Oh,
City,
anyway, all
city away.
right. That's that done. City away. Just blab out a bunch of stuff real fast.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Shockingly, they're second in the Premier League right now, 7-2-2, 23 points. Previous few matches, they 2-0 win over United, 4-1 win in the Champions League over Club Brugge or Brugge, or I'm still working on the pronunciation of that based on who I speak to, whom I'm speaking.
Right.
They took a 2-0 loss to Palace, and before that, they lost in I guess it was the League Cup in
Oh yeah, to
penalties,
West Ham.
penalties, West Ham.
Yeah. Yeah.
Possible lineup, you're gonna see Ederson, Walker, Ruben Diaz, possibly Stones, João Cancelo, De Bruyne, Rodri, and then I don't know if we're gonna see Gundogan or not. Maybe not. A couple of websites said they thought that Bernardo Silva may be in that middle three.
He probably will.
But
I think if he scored, he played well against United. I think he'd probably make it if he's fit.
But he sometimes goes up top for that.
Or he'll
top
play
three
on the
as
right
well.
too.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. And you could see Jesus, Foden, Grealish, maybe Mahrez. There's some, I mean, take your pick.
Yeah, I think we'll see Sterling start personally. I think this is the kind of game where he'd want to start Sterling
to try to boost their value.
Exactly. Well, to boost his value or just to give him some confidence going into to December where they're going to have to play a lot of games. I think it's the kind of game where Sterling would come in and score a goal and play well because we're just so vulnerable to speed and we're so vulnerable to anybody who can dribble. We don't have anybody really in our back four who can stop somebody getting past them. That's what it feels. Other than Gerry Mina, everybody else is just not good enough in the tackle. And so I took some time earlier today and I watched back that Palace game.
Yeah.
And Palace played really well. So all they did was they just pressed City and they pressed them. They pressed their back line. They made it difficult for them to play out. And they just hit City in the counter and used their pace. And they scored their first goal. It was a great goal from Zaha. It was just all Gallagher, Zaha, just pace and getting people out in the open, winning the ball back high up the pitch. And then they frustrated them so much that, eventually Laporte gets sent off because he is, it was Edouard or Zaha was about to run into open space and Laporte just tackles him down when there's nobody back to cover. And they just frustrated City. They just pressed on the front foot and stayed really solid at the back. And it was basically like a front three pressing and just trying to hit those passing lanes and make it hard for them to get out. And it worked really well. Could we do that? I mean, we'd have to really rely on players like Richarlison and Damari Gray and Andres Townsend or Alex Iwobi or Anthony Gordon to set that tone. And I think if we saw like Gray, Richarlison, Anthony Gordon, I think you could see that because they've got the pace, they've got the desire, they're willing to run those yards. I think Gordon especially has been somebody who's willing to put in that defensive work to be able to get his opportunities up, to get on the pitch. I really hope we see Decore back. I think that was kind of the game, was for him to come back after the international break, as I hope Gerry Mina is still fit. Because if we have them back, then we at the very least, we have like some glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Because I think if you see Allen and Davies and Iwobi and Keane and Holgate start, I think it could be 5-0. I think we could get smacked.
Well, Colgate can't start, right?
Oh, that's right. He's suspended. Yes. Well, then I don't know. Keane,
so that won't happen.
Wait, Keane and Godfrey. Yes.
Victory. Nah.
Small. Take the wins where you can get them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know if I trust us to have a similar. I don't know if we have the pieces that Palace
or the confidence.
Yeah, I think we'll possibly approach it differently. I mean, it doesn't shock me at all. With the players that they have, that Palace was able to kind of give them some fits. Yeah, I do expect us to hang back. I'll be psyched if Mina's back. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, that'll help a lot with our set piece situation, because the last thing you need to do is be giving away set piece goals to a team like City when they can already cut through you so easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, man, at this point, I'd take 0-0. I'd take it any day of the week. Just get through it. try to get 3 points at Brentford and just make something happen in the derby and hopefully
Mhm.
kick on our season from there. But yeah, it's going to be a game where we don't have a lot of possession. It's going to be a
Yeah.
game where we're sitting back a lot, and it's a game where it's going to be open for them to attack us. And I think that's what scares me the most, because they could score in the first couple of minutes, and then from there on, we're not going to be able to get back in the game. We just won't.
Yeah.
We won't have the players. We won't have the system. We won't have the legs. So we just got to hope. We just got to hope we can hit them on the counter and smash and grab.
Yeah.
And hope for the best.
I think we'll see Pickford, Coleman, Keane, Mina, Lucadine.
Yep.
You could see Godfrey in there instead of Keane. I'm not sure.
I would
It's
love
tough.
to see Godfrey and Mina. Actually, I would love to see Godfrey and Mina.
You know, it'd be interesting. I'm borderline, because I feel like Godfrey this season, you've seen him like sucked out of position often.
Yep,
I feel like
absolutely.
City are a team you could that absolutely do that.
That's a good point. Actually, it's a very good point.
But I also think that he's a quicker defender than Keane, and we're talking about one of the quickest teams in the league. So
Yep.
I think you get pros and cons with both. You know,
Yep.
I think either way, you're going to be giving up something.
I think as long as we
sadly.
have Mina, Mina's going to be the main thing. If we don't have Mina, it doesn't matter, because it'll be Keane and Godfrey anyways. But I don't think we have a hope in hell of being able to keep a clean sheet.
In front of them, I think we'll see Delph and Alan.
Yeah, I really hope Decore's back fit. But if he's not, then yeah, I think Delph and Allen are alone.
I don't know why I was under the impression I didn't think Decore was going to be much of an option.
I'm sure I saw that the aim was for him to be fit and in time for this game. I will know more tomorrow at the press conference. I'm sure that'll be one of the first things they talk about.
I'd be very happy if that'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have him back.
My favorite flipping player right now.
Yeah.
Gosh. And I think you got aside from that, Gordon, Townsend, Richarlison, and DeMar Gray. I think that's you could see Iwobi, depending on what the plan is. And later on in the match,
I'd be really disappointed to see Iwobi start. I'd be really disappointed. I don't
know. It would feel like we're conceding something and not wanting to attack.
I don't know what he would offer that would, because he doesn't track back that well. He doesn't put in an effort defensively. It's he when he gets the ball, he's making mistakes. It's not. I don't see why he would start, and if he does, then I'm going to be really, really questioning Benitez's decisions again, because I think Anthony Gordon's done enough to be one of the first names on the team sheet, even though he's not scoring. We're not scoring right now. Yeah. He's putting in the effort. He's making good runs. He's trying to put in good balls. Whereas Iwobi just, I don't know. I don't know what he sees in him. So I'd be very disappointed if Iwobi started.
Yeah. At this point, I would say that there's something very positive about Gordon being on the pitch that gives a lot of people.
Yes. Hope.
Yeah, it's a hopeful thing for the club, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's like you're not going back to the well again.
Yeah.
It's like you're seeing the need for something fresh.
Yes. Well, and he's a player that the fans already love. He's an Evertonian at heart. Like, I think to have a player like that in your team really makes a difference for the effort they're going to give, for the relationship they're going to have with the fans, for what they can help the rest of the team understand about how to get the fans to love you. Like, I mean, they're not going to, you think of Ross Barkley as somebody who should have been like that. And unfortunately he followed other ambitions, whether it was money, whether it was winning trophies at Chelsea. I mean, the guy's gone there and really seen his career go backwards, and I feel for him. But that's one more thing. Hey, don't bring Ross Barkley back, Everton. Don't do it. Just be smart. Don't do, even if it's on loan and you don't have to pay any wages, there's no point in doing it. You're just going to make everybody pissed off as hell. The relationship between him and the fans is dead in the water. So don't do it, Everton.
He and his agent cost Everton a lot of money.
Yeah, they did. That relationship is very soured, and it'd be very disappointing to see him come back. It's not like Cam Newton come back to the Panthers, man. It's not like that, because Panthers fans still love Cam Newton. Evertonians do not like Ross Barkley.
I would like to say I am a Panthers fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're better with Cam Newton.
Oh yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
but
Oh, without
I'm
a
not.
doubt.
I don't love him.
Okay.
I'm fine with the fashion sense. Dress as much like that all day long. I'm
Sure.
fine.
Yeah.
It's the me stuff that
I get it. Yes, and that was
you
the
know.
issue he had in New England because New England's not that culture.
No,
I totally
but
get it.
I do think we're better with him, and we won
Oh
a
yeah,
game the other
we
day
are.
because of it. So
We
anyway,
smacked the team
different
around.
different kind of football, but
Yes.
so that's just two North Carolinian, raised
Two Panthers
dudes. Just
fans. You don't meet each other
yeah.
very often.
so yeah. Anyway, so what do you think the score of this city game is going to be, man?
Let's go 0-0. I'll just pray to God 0-0. I'll pray. I
You're
don't
more
think it'll be
positive.
0-0.
You're more
What?
positive than I.
Yeah,
Wow,
I know. I mean, I was sitting here thinking about it before, so I should just be like 3-1
good
or
for
something.
you,
Like,
man.
no, 0-0, just
Good
keep the
for
clean
you.
sheets going. I'll take 10% possession, 18 shots on target from City and 0-0. I'll take
It's
it.
bad that I would. Yeah, I would absolutely take that at this point. It's a very Allardyce type of a feel. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's a very
Oh,
Allardyce type of a
gosh.
stat line. It's a
Yeah.
terrible thing, and I hate remembering that was a thing that happened.
Yep.
But yeah, I've got 2-0 loss. I don't want it.
Hey, I mean, at least we're honest. We could be
Yeah,
the kind of guys who are like, yeah, we'll win 1-0, we'll smash and grab. Like, hey, I'd love for that to happen, but for my prediction, if I'm gonna put money on it, hey,
yeah,
I'm gonna actually, try to win some money.
yeah. All right. So with those, I don't want to sit there and straight copy a popular TV show, but on that bombshell that ends this that ends this episode of Toffee Blues USA. You made it. Congratulations. You made another
Whew.
show. Well
Yeah,
done.
that was good.
Do you have any plugging that needs to happen? Any shout outs, anything where you're like, hey, get ready, England, to try to soak in, and when you see me, don't assume that Andre Villas-Boas has come to scout the club or
Right,
anything like
exactly.
that.
I'm the new manager. No, I don't like I said, I don't like making a big deal about when I go over. I just want to go over and be another person that's there to enjoy the match. Even when I won that trip, like they had me go in the fan zone and do like an interview. I was really sheepish. I was like, I'm just here to enjoy it. Like I've been here before. Like I don't because it's a special relationship the fans have with the club. I don't want to be somebody who tries to be a celebrity in the midst of that because it's just I'm just there to enjoy the club and enjoy Everton and love being around other Evertonians, and that's all. But you can
Yeah,
follow my Twitter at USAEFC. I all I talk about pretty much is Everton, and then like a random whiskey tweet every now and again. So
like I follow you for your whiskey tweets.
yeah.
By the way, if
Oh, I'm gonna buy
you're
so much
going
scotch.
if you're going with Roger, good luck,
Yeah,
guys. You
I
dudes
can't
are going
wait.
to be just oozing whiskey out your pores.
Yeah, I
Holy
can't wait.
cow.
Oh,
You
we're gonna buy a
guys.
nice bottle. We'll all go in on a nice like 25-year scotch, and we'll share it. Oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna get
Jesus.
something nice in Edinburgh.
I'm super jealous. Jesus.
Can't
Well,
wait.
good luck to you. Kick some
Thank
ass.
you.
Hope it's fun. I'm really
Can't
excited
wait,
just for you
man.
to hang out with everybody
9
and just
days.
bask in the
9
glow.
days. 9 days. I leave in 8 days. Oh my gosh.
Jesus. All right. Well, so everybody else, you could be that too. Just saying. So
It's very easy.
like yeah.
Come
So
to me
I
if
said
you have questions. Come to me. Like I'm an open book. I'll tell you everything, all my experiences. Like it's I don't find it very difficult. I can direct you to the right people. And enjoy your time in Liverpool if you do end up going because it's a fantastic city.
fingers crossed that I'm getting there by the end of this season.
I hope you do, man.
Something is happening. Just saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Good.
All right. So other plug stuff. I need to say that there is a link in the description. If you're buying Everton based stuff, the link in the description will give you some form of discount and whatnot. So check out the link in the description. It should be down below. If you're listening via podcast or YouTube, there's some information down there. Also, the Toffee Blues are selling merch now. So check out the Toffee Blues website. There's a Gerry Mina Christmas jumper you can check out. There's a Howard shirt. There's all kinds of stuff that they've designed and put on there. So check that out. Christmas gifts abound on there. So check that out. I would also say I got my book that I should be plugging
Yeah,
a
Randolph the
lot
Christmas
more.
Moose.
So yeah, if you have a young person that digs reading or being read to, yeah, I wrote that, and that the idea for that book came from the Toffee Blues. Crazy enough, came from a joke, and all of a sudden my imagination went nuts. And it's about a moose who wants to be one of the reindeer. He's in a sleigh and just decides to take up running because he doesn't know any other way. So it's the weirdest. Yeah, it sounds like that doesn't make sense, but I swear to God, it makes sense.
I swear down.
I swear, promise you. So yeah. So anyway, check that out. Also, if you could follow the Toffee Blues on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and check out the Toffee Blues website for all things Everton content. That's it. Not sure if I'm doing a show next week because I'll be in Florida for because my kids playing a tournament down there. So fingers crossed that goes well. Yeah, but if not, at the very least, dare I ask for 3 points this weekend?
You can dream. We can all dream. It's okay.
Yes, thank you. I
Of
need
course.
the permission to dream.
Yeah. You got to give yourself permission, man.
All right. Well, Forrest, thanks again, man. It's really good to talk to you, buddy.
Thanks for having
All
me,
right.
Gerry.
Everybody else out there, please take care of yourself. Much love to you. And yeah, dream for 3. Dream for those 3 points. All right, everybody. All right. Much love. Bye-bye.